Okay, so I remembered that I had an entire spare 1G harness that I had purchased from a local guy. So I dug out the resistor wiring from it. Took longer than I wanted it to, but here we have the 1G resistor and the 1G plug. So what we'll do here, I'll show y'all. Here we go, plugged in. This here is your main positive feed wire. If you want to tear your harness apart and find where this junction is, it looked to be only about this far down into the harness. So, you know, you could get further if you want to, but essentially all you need to do is cut this guy out. This is if you have a 1G donor car, or maybe even a 2G, but got your positive feed here, goes in through the white wire into the resistor, back out through the black wires. And these all go to the 4 injectors. So in theory, you plug it in and then you're going to tap back into the harness that's already there. I don't know that these line up with the colors on the car, probably not, but just make sure to tap back into the injector that you're currently plugged into so you don't get these mixed up. So but yeah, and this 12 volt can come from a current injector plug. I think I saw it referred to as the B plus side of the terminal, but plug them into an injector and you'll see exactly what needs to be cut or not. So but yeah, so that's that. About to put it on the car and get to working on the harness itself, so we'll see what happens. Alright, just a quick go over what I'm about to do here. So let's make this more clear. Injector 4, injector 3, injector 2, injector 1. So what I have here is the injector harness from a 1G. They actually have these nice pins on them, connections. So 4, of course, will be up here. We're going to, so what's nice, since I have this harness, I'm not gonna need any of the red wiring off of any of this. So once these injector plugs are removed, I can cut all the way back into the harness wherever I want, cap those off. They're still going to be live wires, but where I'm getting my live for all the injectors from here out is going to be from this, because this is going to be going into this plug. And once again, I'll point out where this is, and then of course I'll have to lengthen this wire for my number 4 injector, because I do not have a rear injector harness, remember. So the number 4 here, I'm gonna have to lengthen a wire to tap into my ground signal wire. Remember, the ground signal is what triggers the wires, or triggers the injectors to work. So, and looking back at these are all for people that run inline resistors. Like I said, I'm not doing that. I don't know what resistor to get. I don't know the wattage and amperage I need. So to avoid that, I'm going with this. But looking at this here, if you don't have access to a harness, a 1G harness, you can just tap all your wires into its own harness to run it. So once all that's together and good, I will explain that further. But the biggest thing is 12 volt feed. I'm using this connection, which is, once again, for the rear injector harness, which is that red wire right there. That's going to be my injector feed going into the resistor. And I'm going to have to grab, I think it was the green and white for my, once again, this is for my setup because I rewired mine different. let me pull that up and show you how I rewired mine. Let's see. I keep all this stuff. I made my own wiring pin out for my specific swap here. Let's see. Here we are. If you want to pause it here, if you want this sent to you, I can send it. Or actually, I might actually, at the end of this video, I'm going to post it up and you can screenshot it from there. So, and here is the pin out. This is to use a 1G harness or 1G ECM on a first generation style harness. Here are the pins. So essentially what I did is I moved some pins around for the injectors to utilize the front 3 parts of the harness. Alright, so just for some reassurance, I numbered all of my connections here. 1, 2, 3. I did the same thing to these, so I'm gonna pop these off, pop these on, and then start doing some splicing. Okay, so before I run out of light here, I'm gonna give you all a final update for the day, and tomorrow I will have the hopefully finished product. But resistor here, it's a 1G resistor, 2G is probably very similar. Plug off of my spare harness. I broke it down and took it all the way to the injectors. So if you have a harness you can break down, it will take it to the injector harness. So remember that. Red wire here, that's my 12 volt constant for our injectors. Remember, they are 12 volt constant, so you technically don't need all 4 of these tied into your resistor. You just need, I see some people just do 1, but I just did 2 for safe measure. The other one will be cut and tied back, and I still have 1 more injector wire to finish here. Alright, so the chaotic mess of injector wiring is coming together, all the wiring actually. So as you can see, I got it all cleaned up, got a new loom. Certain areas I shortened up, some of the areas I had to like fold some wiring under the loom. So here you can see the resistor I have fastened to the back here using a bolt and a hole that was already there. Running this here, I'm going to secure these along the firewall with these tied into the main harness here. Cleaned it up a little bit. The only one I have left is this, which has a connection for the oil pressure sensor and something else. I forget. I will have to figure that out later. And then of course my mass airflow sensor. I will be throwing a Evo 3 plug in place of this. I will either repin the new one I have in, or I'll be cutting and splicing. I'll be doing it clean, of course, like I have the rest of it. It'll look nice. So I didn't have to touch any of the cooling stuff, of course. I didn't have to touch the idle air control valve. I didn't have to really touch the this is the knock sensor back here. Once you take this injector loom apart, you will then be able to extend all of these wires to make them fit. I'll have to extend this down there to the oil pressure gauge. I'll probably go around maybe the back of the firewall with it, just to avoid any exhaust, or I could go along the bottom of that as well. I might do that actually, and avoid the exhaust and avoid the pulleys. So next thing also is the I've got a wire, not wire, but a hose for the slave cylinder. So I'll be putting a new master and slave cylinder in at some point, but the wiring can get confusing if you let it, but it's pretty straightforward. So at the end of this, I think I was going to throw in a couple screenshots of things that helped me with my wiring, and but yeah, hopefully this mess can help a couple people. And any questions, throw them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them for you. And yeah, stay tuned for what's next. Probably the fuel lines, the oil pressure, wiring, and I will finish up my AC. One of these is my trigger for the AC compressor, and I'll be running that wire as well, probably wiring it up and around here to keep it away from the pulleys. It will go from there all the way around and to the plug, which is right below this fitting right here. It's that thing right there. It'll go there. So, and next is everything like the grounds and the hoses, and it's piecing it together at this point. And then also I'm going to be draining the fuel tank. So one thing I found is, I think it's one of these, it might be that plug or one of these plugs. You can either jump it or apply 12 volts to it and it will engage the fuel pump. So what I'm going to do is find me a bucket, set this in it, probably right down there, and engage that fuel pump to empty the tank. That is if the fuel pump works. So we will find that out when that time comes. Stay tuned.